Wilbur and Orville Wright made their first powered, heavier-than-air, controlled flights on the morning of December 17, 1903, at Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. They made 4 flights that morning. The best one was less than 900 feet in 59 seconds, so they knew that they were going to have to push themselves and improve their performance. They went home to Dayton, and by the end of 1905, they have a practical airplane that they can sell. But they didn't have their patent yet. They decided that they didn't want to reveal their invention until they had a patent to protect it and contracts to sell their airplane. And that didn't happen until the spring of 1908. People knew that the Wrights were out there. They knew what the Wrights claimed to have done. But again, the Wrights had stayed on the ground between 1905 and 1908. And people did ask themselves, well, you know, if these guys can fly, why aren't they doing it?
Well, this is where it all happened, Fort Myer, Virginia. Orville made those flights in 1908 and really stunned everybody.
Yes, just imagine just 5 years from that first flight at Kitty Hawk, where only 5 people saw them fly, and now the whole world got to see them fly right here.
Well, it was a long road for them. They had tried so hard to get anybody interested in what they were doing and believed that they could fly, but they didn't want to show anybody. They were keeping everything under wraps because they were really getting closer and closer. Other people had pieces of the puzzle. A nice wing design or a nice engine design or some ideas about control or balance, but nobody had worked it all out and put it all together. The Wrights were the only ones who had all the pieces of the puzzle together, and they knew it. Well, Wilbur first wrote to his congressman talking about their 04 flights, that they were well on the way to developing a machine, and the congressman passed it on to the Department of War, and the Wrights got a letter back saying, you know, unless you can prove that your airplane actually can go in horizontal flight, we're not interested.
Well, that was true with all the customer letters that they wrote. People wanted to see the airplane. They wanted to be able to find out how it worked. And once somebody saw the airplane fly, the cat would really be out of the bag.
Well, Orville got here just about the time of his birthday, August the 19th, August 20th.
He really stunned the world with that very first flight when he took off and just circled the field.
Yeah, it was a short flight, but already they could see that he had complete control of the airplane. Within 6 days, by September the 9th, he had broken the world record and flown well over an hour. He was absolutely mastering the machine, and the crowds were growing, the headlines were blaring. Even his own brother, who had flown a month before in August in Le Mans, was saying, "Orville, your flights are a sensation here in Europe, and America must be nearly wild."
So things were just going swimmingly. President Taft came out to watch them fly, and huge crowds showed up. And then in mid-September, September 17th, 1908, Orville, who had to demonstrate that he could carry passengers, was flying with Lieutenant Thomas Ethlon Selfridge. They were at about 150 feet in the air when one of his propellers broke, and they crashed. Orville's hip was broken. Tom Selfridge was killed. He was the first human being to die in a powered airplane crash. The Army, recognizing how successful Orville had been up to that point, said to the brothers, it was an accident, you couldn't help it. Come back when you're ready and finish the demonstration. And the brothers did that. And in October of 1909, the Army signed on the dotted line and bought the world's first military airplane, the airplane that's up here, the 1909 Wright military flyer.
Can't be overstated really how important what happened here was at this post on this field. By the time the Wrights left here in 1909, the world was a different place.
People had spent millennia saying, you know, if God had wanted us to fly, he would have given us wings. And now you could go out and actually see people flying in machines crafted by human brains and hands. And it kind of said to people, If we can do that, what can't we do? It sort of opened the doors of possibility to the 20th century.